Alexa Bliss recently spoke with a journalist outside of an airport and gave some answers to some important questions. So we'll see what she had to say there. We'll also see what's going on with Mandy Rose, how Pat almost quit WWE, and much more. Let's start things off with this backstage situation that almost made Pat walk away from WWE. In current day, Pat absolutely loves his WWE role and the fans love him as well. He's such a unique commentator and truly adds a whole other level of energy to the show with his commentating and how engaged he gets with what's happening in the ring. On top of his great commentating, he's also shocked and impressed everyone when he steps into the ring as a competitor as well. All of his matches and feuds in NXT received great reviews from the fans. And then we just recently saw him feud with Austin Theory, leading up to their WrestleMania match. That WrestleMania match was another impressive showing for Pat, and even got to share a moment with Vince McMahon and Stone Cold Steve Austin. But all of that almost didn't happen because of what went down at WrestleMania 35 in 2019. Pat wasn't fully with WWE at the time, but it was one of his first few gigs with the company by participating in the WrestleMania 35 kickoff show. Pat revealed all the details about what almost made him quit working with the company that night. He was instructed not to wear any pair of jorts, so instead, he decided to wear tuxedo shorts. So he was still wearing shorts, but technically not going against the rules since they specifically told him no jean shorts. But he said that Michael Cole chewed him up and yelled at him backstage in front of everyone for how ridiculous he looked and how he didn't follow the rules. Pat was so done after that went down, and even told some of the backstage guys that he was planning on walking out and not doing the pre-show. But minutes before they were set to go on air, everything was able to get settled and squashed. Pat says that Michael Cole sincerely apologized and said that he was just looking out for Pat's chances to make a good impression on Vince McMahon. That was all squashed on the same day, and just a handful of months after all that went down, Pat was wrestling in NXT, and later called up to be one of the lead commentators for Smackdown. Cole and Pat now work together as a perfect duo on Smackdown, but it was just very interesting to hear about how Pat almost left WWE all the way back then in 2019. Alexa Bliss was recently spotted at an airport and was asked a few WWE-related questions that she actually gave some surprising answers to. When it comes to the most popular question about when she's returning to WWE, she had this to say, quote, "Hopefully soon. I'm just waiting on the call. Been ready to go since before Saudi Arabia." End quote. So since everyone was so confused and left in the dark about that one-night-only return for Alexa Bliss, there was a handful of theories out there about why she vanished. Some fans thought that maybe she was injured at Elimination Chamber. Maybe she requested all this time off for her wedding and her honeymoon. But all incidents from Alexa Bliss imply that none of this is true. She wasn't hurt after her return match or anything like that. She only returned for one night because that's what WWE Creative had for her. Have the therapy sessions lead up to her Elimination Chamber return and then never follow up with her again. That was just their plan. Like Alexa said there in that quick interview, she's ready today and she's ready since before Elimination Chamber. She's just waiting for the call from Creative. And like we've been talking about over the last few months, there's so many ways to take Alexa Bliss in for her return. Maybe it's something with Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch, and Rhea Ripley over on Raw. Maybe it's something with Charlotte Flair or Ronda Rousey on SmackDown. Or maybe Alexa Bliss heads back to NXT to focus on Mandy Rose. There's a lot of endless possibilities for when it comes to Alexa Bliss's return. We'll just have to wait and see which one they end up going with. Alexa was also asked if she gets nervous around Vince McMahon and had this to say about that topic. Quote, "Vince is amazing. He's incredible. He's super approachable. He has such an amazing presence. It's always a little nerve-wracking talking to Vince, but he's great." End quote. So that's all Alexa Bliss had to say during this mini interview, but hopefully we do get to see her WWE return real soon. Athena, formerly known as Ember Moon in WWE, recently spoke with Chris Van Vliet, and she didn't hold back about her experiences in WWE. especially in the final months of her career in WWE. Ember Moon talked about how WWE just took Shotzi away from her in NXT to pair her up with Tegan Nox on the main roster. Ember Moon and Shotzi had a well-established tag team together with merchandise and everything else you could think of. So when they took Shotzi away from her like that, it sort of blindsided Ember Moon. She had this to say about the shift in NXT that started happening. Quote, "I started seeing this downslope as soon as Hunter was gone. For the first bit, we didn't know why. We just knew he wasn't there. I got so angry. I was sitting there thinking, I did nothing wrong. I didn't upset Vince. They took Shotzi away. Hunter is gone. You guys promised me this wouldn't happen. You promised me I wouldn't be lost in the shuffle. I went on this losing streak to help you guys out and build other talent so I could get a reward." End quote. And things were looking good for Ember Moon in WWE up until that point. She had a great run her first time in NXT, got called up to the main roster, but then returned to NXT again. That second NXT was going great until all those things that she talked about started happening. Ember Moon continued to talk about how unhappy she was after Shotzi was suddenly ripped away from her, but she made another big reveal. According to Ember Moon, there was apparently 2-hour-long backstage meetings with the NXT women's roster on how they should dress more like Mandy Rose. Ember talked about how she had no interest in dressing up like that at all. She said that Mandy Rose is phenomenal, but not everyone is Mandy Rose. So that line really was the talk of the town for a bit amongst the wrestling community. Did WWE specifically name-drop Mandy Rose during those meetings with the women's division and tell them to dress exactly more like her? Or was Ember Moon just using Mandy Rose's name as an example of the sort of look they wanted? That's a question that's still sort of unanswered here. Even though Ember Moon didn't seem to be taking any shots at Mandy Rose and still call her phenomenal, a lot of people interpreted it in different ways. Some fans thinking it sounded bitter, some fans saying it sounded like a shot to Mandy Rose, some fans thinking it was nothing, but everyone understood those comments in their own way. It definitely made it back to Mandy Rose, who took to Twitter to post a gif of herself cooling herself down. Fans in the comment section of Mandy's tweet kept the conversation going, some fans telling Mandy that it wasn't meant to be a shot at her. Ember Moon was just saying that everyone shouldn't have to be exactly like Mandy Rose. But like another fan pointed out, Ember Moon didn't really have to name drop Mandy Rose. If she wouldn't have dropped any names and just talked about how WWE wanted everyone to dress differently, maybe this whole topic would have never snowballed into all this big drama. So that point is definitely true. Name dropping Mandy Rose in that topic of conversation seemed a bit unnecessary, but either way, it happened and created this big conversation of was it or was it not a shot at Mandy Rose? But what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments below, don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.